to your live. But no one's here yet, so he has to join. He's not joined yet.
Hello?
Can you... No, but no one's...
Hi. Hi, I'm Polly Leonard. I'm the founder of Selvedge magazine, a magazine about the culture of cloth. I've been publishing the bi-monthly magazine for 17 years, and in that time to meet many remarkable people who share my passion for textiles from around the world. In the run-up to the Selvedge Virtual World Fair, which opens on Thursday, the 3rd of September, with a shopping evening followed by 2 full days of workshops, live slow TV, podcasts, show and tell sessions, live chats, and much more. We've filmed a series of videos with designers who work with artisans. The initiative is part of our efforts to find ways of replicating the experience of a live event for our virtual audience while we all stay at home until the pandemic has passed. I'm joined today by Santandu Das of Maku Textiles from India. Hi, Santandu. I'm not hearing you, Santandu. Could you turn up your volume? No, I'm not hearing you at all. Perhaps pick out the headphones, unplug it, try without. That's
Hello?
better. That's perfect. I'm hearing
Okay.
you perfectly. Thank you very much. Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you, Polly?
I'm very well, thank you, very well. Can we start by you introducing us and telling us where in India you are speaking to us from?
Okay, we are based in the eastern coast of India, which is West Bengal, and in the city of Calcutta. So it was called Calcutta, and it was the British capital. And later it was known as Kolkata, which is the new name of the city.
Thank you very much. I believe the word Maku is a Bengali word for a shuttle. Shall we start by talking about weaving? Can you tell me about jamdani, which is an indigenous weaving technique from Bengal? And perhaps describe the cloth, how you use it in your textiles, and also a little bit of the place it holds in the culture of the local community.
Well, jamdani is a craft practice which was developed in the eastern part, or mostly the undivided Bengal. And it was generally practiced, which is now in Bangladesh, mostly. That was the fertile most land. And the cotton they used to grow there was converted into very fine cotton thread, which is muslin. And then it was woven into the jamdani cloth. Now, jamdani as a technique is a extra weft inlay technique. And this is how they used to do ornamentation, or the brocade, which is also a kind of brocade, which is hand done. So the lifting of the shafts are manually done by counting the threads. That was the beauty of the cloth. Now, over the years, when India was divided, and the Bengal was divided into Bangladesh and the West Bengal, some of the weavers also migrated to this part of the country from Bangladesh. And then it was a new identity of this cloth has originated than the Bangladesh, which is little different in its identity. First of all, when the weavers were migrated here, they were not sure that what they're going to weave, so they started weaving anything they would get. So the first thing which they started weaving is the saris, which we call the mata saris, or in a better way we also call them as the tangail saris. These are very simple saris which we wear. So the Bengali women wear every day sari. This is something which you wear at home, which is 100 counts cotton by 100 counts cotton. So in the olden days, the whole proportion was 100 by 100,
Yes.
and it has to have 5,000 threads.
Wow. Wow.
So that's how the measurement, that's how a weaver will know the quality. So if you look at the 5,000 threads, it's almost like 100 reed or near about 100 reed.
Extremely
So
fine.
this very fine and very nice, compact, very nice cloth. And since Jamdani was very elaborate, now for everyday purpose, people cannot afford such a elaborate, such an expensive cloth. So what they started doing is they simplified the technique. They balanced it with a lot of weft stripes and a little bit of, putting the motifs here and there.
Yes.
And that started creating a visual identity of the Tangail saris. And that went very famous. But over the years, the crisis or what was threatened in the craft was that slowly and slowly the reed became very, very open. So the quality of the craft went down. One of the reason for it is that people still wanted that cloth to be very cheap. There was not enough money which the weavers were getting. And another reason of the cloth suffered in Bengal was the export market. The Bengal started becoming an export hub almost in late 80s and early 90s, when a lot of Japanese company, lot of European design houses started seeing potential in this sector. And they started flooding, or they started manufacturing their designs in Bengal. And what happened exactly is most of this design innovation which they did, or the design development which they did, without considering the craft. It's like you are designing something sitting in a room in Tokyo without knowing how craftsmen in Bengal, in this scenario, they understand something.
Yes.
For example, say if a weaver weaves a flower, for them the flower is not exactly how it looks. For them the flowers is in terms of numbers of threads they count.
I understand. Yes.
Numbers of thread it counts, and also how it grows. So if it goes in a diagonal line, does it jump one thread, one ends every step, or it jumps two ends every steps? That's how it creates, or that's how they remember motif. And it was remembered like in a very oral traditions. It is not documented anywhere. Now, for 20 years, when the export market started making them weaving their design, which they no longer know how to, perceive or how to fit into their knowledge, so they started taking those drawings. It's like someone is weaving a flower like that. If you want them to weave Mickey Mouse in Jamdani, so what they started doing is they started printing on the warp and then weave it.
And then you get a very different feel. The cloth has a very different look and feel. So it's in fact lost its original quality.
Exactly. But most importantly, the weaver who is weaving it, they lost the knowledge of the original designs. So which is very unfortunate today. Fashion is 95% visual.
Yes, absolutely. I entirely agree that the sense of touch has been lost in today's fashion world. Can we talk a little bit, Santandu, about cut? So although your shapes are very contemporary, they do take account for the fineness of the fabric you use, and they make reference to the feel of a sari or perhaps a pajama we see in an old painting of one of the Maharajas, with lots of very fine pleats.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the origins of the shapes that you use?
Yes, I mean, though we were trained in a conventional design education, but though we are exposed to the Western designs and Western fashion in the college, but to look for the originality, I always try to look into our own traditions. And in our Indian traditions, for us, a stitched garment is very new. Most of
Yeah.
our old traditions are unstitched garments, which is either a rectangular piece of cloth in the form of dhoti or in the form of saris. And then in the Mughals brought the stitched garments to us. So obviously, naturally, my inclination was this very elaborate garments with the Mughals have, the jamas,
Yes.
you know. And I felt that unless and until we are grounded in our inspirations, like what we see around us, because a lot of things has been diluted, and we see those examples even in our everyday life. So we need to know where the sources are coming from and then build on those sources.
Thank you very much. I had the privilege earlier in the year of visiting the library at the National Institute of Design, and I saw the sketchbooks and the documents that the students produced after working with artisans. Can you tell me a little bit about the experience you had as a student working with artisans, and if that has inspired the way you collaborate today?
Absolutely. This is an incredible course which we had in our college is we have to have exposure in terms of craft, and we need to know how to document a craft. Now, being a student, it is very hard to take your ego out of the equation, because when you study design, you are already a designer, you want to make your mark. But
Yes.
when you work with craft, it's not about your mark. It's about an identity which is already there for many, many, many years. To respect the identity, to observe, to study, and help them to translate it. Now, this is something which is very unique and which really, which has built our foundation for the craft orientation is from the course which we had.
I think the course is incredible, and the documents I looked at, I would recommend if anyone gets the opportunity to go to India, to go to the Institute of Design and have a look at those. And I think they are instrumental in the position we see Indian crafts today.
But the best thing is, sorry, I just interrupted. The best
Okay.
thing is, what is very interesting is that, say, the same craft has been documented twice in 10 years. So you can almost see the data, like, how it has changed. It's like you're mapping the craft.
Mm-hmm. They're wonderful. I know there are several crafts that have, with the influence of the students, have re-energized, they've re-looked at forgotten elements like the natural dyes they used to use in the 1950s and are rediscovering them. So that combination of the craftsmen and the students is really, really special. Can we talk briefly about indigo? Why indigo? Why have you decided to specialize in blue and white for your brand, which, can I add, I think is inspired?
Well, when I was starting my brand, I felt very strongly that I don't want to do the brand just for the fashion. I want to make it as an art project where I want to express my philosophy through it. And I was extremely annoyed and disturbed by the fast nature of fashion, which keeps changing and which keeps offering you with so much of choices. So I wanted to start with something. I wanted to have a tool which demonstrate the idea of something will not be same every time. And I felt indigo is one such example. Like, if you dye every day in the same way, it depending on the ingredient, depending on the temperature, the tone of dye will always vary. And that became the foundation, and that became the core philosophy of Maku, that no two garments will be same.
I love that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
and it's such a universal color. You know, there isn't
True.
anyone in the world who doesn't love blue. Finally, my final question, Santandu. Part of the philosophy of the Selvedge World Fair is to present sustainable alternatives to the global fashion industry. So we're much more of an organisation about a carrot than a stick. Can you tell me how at Maku you manage your impact on the environment and the lives of the people who produce the clothes?
Well, you know how we understand sustainability, that keeping the system very close. You know, it's a small system, and it deals mostly with at human scale, everything as human scale. We don't use much of machines. So from the yarn, from the dyeing, from the weaving, everything have a lot of hand involved in it.
Thank you very
And
much.
yes.
And do you monitor the source of the fiber you use?
We do. Now we are trying to do even more, because now we're inclining towards indigenous variety of cotton, because it is a great movement coming in India that we are no longer happy, just satisfied with only organic, but we want to go back to our own cotton.
That's wonderful to hear. And the Selvedge readers are very keen on, you know, they want to know where it comes from, how it's made, who's involved in the process. Thank you so much for finding time to talk to us today. If you
Thank you,
have
Polly.
enjoyed listening to Santandu and you'd like to have a look at the wonderful clothes he produces, they are available to buy from the Selvedge website during the Selvedge Virtual World Fair. That starts on Thursday evening with a shopping preview. I suggest you check out the website, have a look at what's available, and purchase tickets. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.